I remember a long time ago that there was a whole community post where I think somebody commented about what was my favorite Jentai studios. And essentially, I came up with the conclusion that I didn't really know. Because to keep it very much a stack, I only pay attention to the shows that I potentially like and just keep up with those. And that's really about it. I never really cared to just look into, oh, what studios does good work, because I don't really care on that sort of level. If it's a good show and if it is proper quality, then yeah, I'll go ahead and chuck that into the catalog. But outside of that, there's not really much I would say for studios. So I decided to change that. While I'm on the research and, you know, basically trying to be on the lookout for any different Jentai shows that could now be within like a top 5, top 10 sort of situation, because desperately I need to do that video again. But when it comes down to it though, I decided to take my basis of that and essentially look through the studios to see what is some peak content that is here, what is something that I think that is proper good for the whole studio, and that's essentially what this is. Spoilers, I will basically tell you that some of these studios that's on here is mainly good for one show and one show only, and that's really about it for me, because it's kind of hard to not necessarily mention anything else of these shows, but that's just how it is. But I do want to give a honorable, or I guess dishonorable mention to Queen Bee, honestly, or at least in this sort of instance the actual studio name Bluebird, because they are the people that has been effing up all the good topics or good versions of Jentai that can actually be done, and then they make the most minimal effort to animate shit. So we know who these people are now. We understand. That being said, obviously, you probably are some nice people. You probably are some decent guys that be animating this stuff. But at the very same time, holy shit, your animation is not what I want. It's not good. And you have all the good ones. Stop taking the good ones. Now, before I continue, I will talk about the studio, and then I will give you an example of at least one show that I would say is proper good, because again, I don't know much about these damn studios. So that being studio first. And yeah, really the only one I can think of that I just literally watched for the sake of this video that I think is like Kaede Tsuzu. That's a really good one. I'm not necessarily gonna lie. I was really just looking through like, oh yeah, what's the most popular Jentais that ever been made, at least according to my anime list. And essentially this was like number 2, and I can see why. I understand it. And as someone that can understand the sister complex now, I absolutely get it. It is definitely prime time cheeks. The girls are blue, which is my favorite color, and essentially they just, you know, you gotta break them in, and they just kind of in for the whole ride of things. One sister had to be basically roped into it, literally, and then the other sister was just down bad off rip. You're having a good time. It is some peak ass time to have here, and if this is one of your shows that obviously is like second best in the entirety of my anime list, then I think there might be some actual peakness here. I think there might be some actual quality here. Also, it doesn't help that both of the sisters look fine as hell, so yeah, definitely this was a pretty good one. Honestly, it might be a contender just to be in that top 10 of the best Jentai I've ever seen, honestly. I'm not lying, it's just that dang good. The next one on this list is Ryu M's, and mainly they are mainly done for Dropout. Like, let's just keep it very much a stack. Everybody knows Dropout is. You've probably seen Dropout in some shape or form in terms of your life. If you haven't, how the hell are you here? But when it comes down to it though, it is just really good. Right? They don't got a lot of stuff under their belt, if I remember correctly. I don't think this studio has like a lot of stuff, but the little stuff they do have, it's been pretty saucy. I think there was like one where you had like a crew in space or some shit like that, or they had like mechas or whatever the hell, and it was in like these mecha suits or whatever. And then obviously Dropout itself, like these are some pretty damn good ones. Again, if you're seeing Dropout, you already know what you're getting into, and you pretty much know what kind of style is actually being done here. So I don't really think I need to go into it that much, again, because there's not really much to talk about when it comes to this studio and their works. But again, if you like Dropout, you'll probably like the rest of what this studio has to offer. Third place on the list is Office 8 and Office Takeout. Now, I'm gonna keep it a stack. This is mainly for 2 shows that I really like on their whole works, and the reason why I also kind of put 2 different, I guess maybe 2 different studios on here, is because both of them collab with their respective other studios, or maybe they could be like some type of split division in the same building or whatever. I don't know, But mainly, the one that is absolutely peak is Little Devil Girlfriend. Easily the best shit they got, right? Honestly, if you put Itadaki Sekai and you put Little Devil Girlfriend right near each other, it's a hard contender of who's the best one, who would give you the best sessions, honestly, right? It's really hard to put those two together, and I don't see how anybody hasn't done that. But when it comes down to it, though, that is definitely like a peak ass work that they've done. You know, I think it's within the top 100 of my anime list too, so that helps it a lot. But when it comes down to it, though, this easily is the more peaker option, and definitely is the more peaker work that they have ever really done. And so just off of that show alone is easily why it has to be on this list, at least number 3. Like, the animation, you can kind of say it's a hit or miss or so if that's what you feel, but I don't think it's necessarily all that bad. I think it's actually pretty dang good for what it does. You know, it's basically your traditional, probably your most traditional looking kind of content, I would say, at least from what I've seen of the different stuff, and you know how it kind of goes, and that's just kind of how it is. The second one on this list is a studio that we pretty much all love. It's T-Rex Studio. Now, obviously, the moment I said that, you probably seen the name before, because they are responsible for things like Lovely X Cashin, which was one of my favorite shows, you know, when I first started to really get into the world of Jentai and all that type of material. Like, yes, I would very much like to clap cheeks of different characters in a POV situation. Why the hell not? I just dug into all of them cheeks. You sure as hell didn't. They're also responsible for basically adult Disneyland, which is ODOK Land, and that was peak ass animation. One of my top 3 favorite animations, I would say, of all time. Then at the very same time, they also did, I think, Evil Executive Woman, or whatever that show is called, with like the blue chick and the other chick that was like, you know, blonde as hell. Like that show was peak as well. That's like also, I think, within the top 10 best shows that ever really was made, honestly. And there's plenty of other shows that I have seen, and plenty of other people have seen, that pretty much put them in a prime position of just being goated as hell. Like, if you usually see T-Rex and Pink Pineapple together, you're gonna have a good ass show. That's just how it is. But if I had to give you the top pick of like the best studio, I would probably say, for me personally, it is Anime Antenna Iankai. I think that's how you pronounce that. And what they basically gave us was some of the most peak shit ever. Like, if you watch regular Jentai, you see what it looks like. Obviously, you see its prime time heat. But like, when you watch anything made at least by a specific artist in animator in this whole studio, you can't go back looking at regular content and thinking, oh, it slaps just as hard as that, because no, it doesn't. They're responsible for Time no Sagi 1 with their crazy ass camera movement and all the super high intense smashing scenes. Same people that made Zentai Junshu, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. When it comes down to it, having a license and basically clapping whoever the hell you want to because the low birth rate population nonsense was going on, and that's the reason why. And it's just a prime time example of how good things can actually get, right? And the artist, or at least the animator that has, you know, really brought all these shows to life and, you know, showed me what good Jentai looked like, was Teru Aki Murakami. I think that's the name. And essentially, they just go ham. They go ham in a high intense, high impact animation of how they go about things. Now, I know people don't necessarily like, you know, this type of style of animation, or they don't really care for a lot of the stuff that come out of this man's hands, because it's a lot of flashing lights and a lot of motion camera movements and all that type of stuff. But for me personally, I think it's some peak ass stuff. I think it's actually really good. I don't mind it, and it's some of the best stuff I've seen in Jentai. And I kind of wish we had more of this man's work in a more lighthearted way, because there is a lot of his work out there, but a lot of it is also dedicated to like the most messed up looking Jentai of all time, like Night Shift Nurses. I don't ever want to watch that again. I watched the one with the pink hair chick. She was wild. Why did she eat some actual human remains? I don't want to see that again. I didn't need to. I thought, oh yeah, I remember her. She looked mad fine. I had to clap only for me to realize, oh, maybe I don't want to. Maybe I shouldn't this time around. If I see someone in a nurse outfit wearing pink hair, I might need to stay the hell away, because I'm not effing with that whatsoever. But easily, regardless though, that is definitely my favorite studio, I think, out of all of them. Just because of how crazy, you know, the high intensity is. And again, this is my favorite version of also of Time and Asagi, where every other Time and Asagi after that is just boring as hell. I'm not gonna lie, it just comes off boring as hell when you have the dope ass high intensity one. I'm just saying, for me personally, that's the peak studio of all the studios. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on your way out. Also follow me on socials, and if you'd like to donate to the channel, Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until then, it's Boy J, sign off. Have a blessed day.